to join you today, and I really hope that this will be as interactive as possible because I'm very looking forward to listen to your questions and your comments and learn together with you today. I'm going to share with you a presentation and some of the experiences that I've been learning through. Together with a lot of other people around the world. As Christina just told you, I'm the Open Education Community Manager at SPARC Europe, working with the European Network of Open Education Librarians. And I also work as a project manager in the Learning Innovation Task Force in METID, Politecnico di Milano, here in Italy. I live in Monza. You are in my living room today. You are very welcome. At first, I thought I can have a virtual background, but it wouldn't have been as open as I want to be with you today. So it's really a pleasure for me to welcome you in my space, also in my private space somehow, because it's difficult to divide the spaces when the values on your desk are so important. So today we're going to talk a bit about open education as a natural approach. I'm going to share with you images, contents, experiences that are not only part of my personal experience, they are part of the growing and developed, implemented resources by a large community that is the open education community. And if you are willing to know more, today you can have an overview, let's say, and most of all, something that will let you think about the approach and the change of mindset that sometimes we could all benefit from. And based on the generosity of the community, you can always reach out to me, but to anyone else in this community to learn more. So let's start. Who am I? So this is me. I mean, you see me. Well, today my hair are a little bit wrapped. I used to call it my sheep. We live together. But as you can see, there are people who draw portraits of me. In particular, this one was done by Cristina Ranzi. And there are ants on top of me. And in the other picture on the right, you see a bag, a tote bag that I received as a gift from another colleague of mine in Polimi, because she thought when I saw it, it really represented you. So this is me seen through the eyes of community members. And that's actually how I'd like to present myself, because it's informal, it conveys this sense of, the possibility to have fun while working together and while learning together, as of today. I'm also a human being. Just to set the scene about open education, I am a human being, as we all are in this room, which somehow affirms a difference from other forms of beings, all to be respected, and it describes also the limits and the potentials to be considered, okay? Starting from us and starting from me. But I always love to invert those two words, and I prefer to focus on being human because it's active, is an approach, is an intentional approach that we can choose to enact whenever we are in a relationship with others, more specifically if they are other human beings. And being influenced largely by the history that happens around me, and in memory of Vittorio Rigoni, who lived in a small town in Italy very close to where I lived, and who was killed in the Gaza Strip while being a volunteer there in 2011. He used to write articles for Italian newspapers, and he always ended with this invitation, stay human. And I don't think that this invitation could be more timely today in the times that we are living in. So I like to send you also this invitation to stay human, because we all need to deal with the challenges that we have in this world with a positive attitude. And I also think that open education can play a very powerful role in this. I said open education as a natural approach, okay? So let's start diving into it. The invitation for you today is to let the world us. So we are all human beings, but I think that we can learn a lot from nature, and you're going to see a lot of nature in this presentation that comes from pictures that I took myself. I love to explore, I love to get lost in nature, I love to go climbing in the Alps, but I also love to explore other parts of the world when I'm traveling for work, and if I am lucky, I can add half a day, 1 day of holiday, and explore a little of the surroundings. Some other pictures are shared by other people in the larger global community. All of them you can reuse for free because they are all either CC licensed with a CC BY license in case of my personal photos, or sometimes also CC 0. We are going to look at the licenses in a moment, but just to start sharing with you some of the vocabulary that relates to open education. The licenses that show you immediately if you can or cannot reuse a resource without the need of contacting the author, because the license itself tells you what you can do with that license. But before we dive into the technicalities, I'd love to explore a little bit more together with you about nature and how going back to nature and somehow narrowing down our look and being attentive to some of the details, we can relearn from the world and be influenced in a good way to be more attentive to something that can then influence our actions more intentionally. To speak about that, I will also use photos of art pieces. In this case, this image is related to an artwork created by Ida Arm, who I contacted personally. She's an artist, and I contacted her personally to use the photos of her artwork, which is somehow a solid artwork that you can find in an exhibition, okay? She shared with me some of the photos. I have a story to tell you about that later, but she did this exhibition called Humus Sapiens. Humus is the word that identifies the first layer of the ground on Earth, okay? 5 centimeters. And the adjective sapiens usually pertains to human beings, right? In this case, she used it for the humus, and we will immediately discuss why. So the invitation is to look around you, think about your surroundings, the places that you explore when you are outside, either your garden or a public garden, a public park, nature in the country yard around you, okay? Try to remember some places that relate to you directly, that are part of your personal experience, okay? Sometimes when it's raining and you can smell the earth in your nose, okay? And think about this. Humus Sapiens is a triptych installation that requires a bow to the ground. These are the words of the author, okay, of the artist. It gives dignity to the humble humus by bringing it to the high level, questions the concept of evolution, whose evolution are we talking about, and grants subjectivity to the earth as a nourishing mother, okay? So this is how the author defined the triptych. And this is the second piece of the triptych. I left a child in the picture because you have to imagine this bar, which is 1 meter long and then 5 by 5 centimeters in height and in depth. This bar contains humus, okay? So why humus and why sapiens? Because in this first layer of the ground, 95% of our nourishment comes from, okay? So this is where vegetables are generated, and most of the other fruits and vegetables that we eat every day start there in these 5 centimeters. It's very thin layer, okay? It's like a skin that protects the rest of the earth, but it's always ignored, okay? Except by professionals or people who really care about the earth, or explorers, sometimes people who are looking for flowers or for mushrooms. And it protects the planet from fluctuations in the temperature. It also protects the planet from the atmospheric changes. It sequesters more carbon than forest. Did you know that? I didn't before looking into this piece of art in depth. Okay, and it contains also an extremely large amount of biodiversity. Okay, it is useful because it retains water for a bit before letting it down in the earth, and it helps this water to become warmer at first. So it's really important to think about the role of these 5 centimeters on top of everything that is underground and below it, okay? It's like having someone working hidden in plain sight all the time, okay? So please keep this image in mind while I invite you to do another mind shift, if you are willing to do so. So you see here a word that is Shoshin. This is how you pronounce it. I asked to a friend of mine who is from Japan, and it means the mind of the beginner. So this is the invitation now. I invite you to adopt the mind of the beginner, which is something that I exercise myself doing very, very often lately. I would say at least once a week. I started months ago, actually, and I have a degree in philosophy, and I'm 52. So my degree in philosophy comes from half of my life back, okay? And I was used to have the attitude of the beginner every day when studying a new philosopher. But of course, life and work and all the deadlines somehow change you, right? But it's good to go back to this attitude. And this word in Japanese helped me very effectively to re-adopt the right state of mind to be open for change. So Shoshin means to possess an attitude of openness, determination, passion, and absence of preconceptions. This is key, absence of preconceptions when studying a subject, even when studying at an advanced level, just as a beginner would. Bear with me for a moment now, okay? So use your smartphone, or I hope that Christina can paste the address into the chat, and I would love for you to answer this question now. What can you share without losing it? And we are going to see the answers that you post directly, because this is where they should go. So I will update this page continuously, hoping that you can, and sorry for the advertisement. It's not in my control to remove them at the bottom of the page. What can you share without losing it? There's no wrong or, okay, this is interesting. Love, knowledge, happiness. Interesting answers. And everyone that adds the same word, you can add as many words as you want. You have 40 characters. Oh, look at that. I can share my name. This is really interesting. Ideas, memories, information, non-physical. Nice brackets here. A smile, kindness, empathy. That's interesting. I will add them to your presentation and share them back with you. And then I have smile, again, thoughts, feelings, care, grief. Oh, that's interesting also. Yes, you can share that too. Dreams. And there's something new here. Or people, mindfulness. This is interesting. A passion for some activity. This is also very interesting. I can relate to that. I'm full of passion, luckily for me, for what I do. I'm not looking in your direction because I have a second screen, as you might have guessed now, because I really want to look at you in case you open your microphone or you want to say something, okay? Okay, so let me update once again, and then we can continue and discuss about this. So let me also enlarge this a bit, so maybe you can see it better. I think it's better now, right? Okay. Advice. This is also very interesting. Advice. I can share an advice with someone without losing it. I'm very happy about your answers. They are full of stimuli for me, also looking forward. So I will do a screen capture of these and then share it back with you through Christine. Okay, so let's continue. Starting from what you said, actually, let's start here. So some of you talked about ideas, right? And this is an image. Look at the quotation and at the bottom. You have the link to the photo and you have the license, okay? So this is another open photo that I shared, and I was looking for something representing an idea, actually. And I love the fact that you talked about that. I think that in your answers, and let me go back to them very briefly, there is more like things that are expressed in terms of thoughts and also memories and feelings, okay? Well, I also see experience and experiences, which means living something together, okay? Which involves also being with a body in a physical environment. But mostly it's being in your mind or in your heart, let's say, okay? And let's move forward a bit. Let's see. What if I talk to you about fire? Can I share fire without losing it? What do you think? Trying to look at and you can also give feedback with the reactions in the Teams room, okay? In case you want to, or if you prefer. Actually, I can share fire, right? If I have a candle and I light it up and then I want to pass the fire on to another candle, I can do it and my candle will continue being on fire, right? So there are also some physical things that I can share with others without losing them. Okay, and what happens with a book? If I want to share a book, and this is something that makes me really annoyed, to be honest with you, if there is anything that I care about is my books on paper, okay? This is me being a boomer, like my daughters would say. So I'm still in love with the smell of books and I love to turn the pages and see where I am in terms of the number of pages, okay? But of course, if you borrow a book to someone, you are never sure that it will come back. It can be just because people forget, and I for sure forgot about giving back some of the books that my friends borrowed to me. So I'm not saying that people are mean. I am with them, okay? We all have limits. It's not about that. It's about the fact that a physical book, of course, contains a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of thoughts, but still, if you share it, it's quite difficult to consider it like something that you don't lose, okay? You can potentially lose it. But when we think about digital resources, and I know that I'm taking this from a distance, okay? But bear with me for a moment. When we think about digital resources, actually, we can share a complete library of digital books without losing it, right? So actually, open education was born when digital resources were created and we had internet as a tool in everybody's hands and in everybody's desktop, like something that was normal, okay? So if I go back in time with my memory, I started working in 1998, okay? And I started working in distance education, actually. CD-ROM existed at that time, and I was working with floppy disks, words that maybe have no meaning for you except as part of the ancient history now. But actually, that's how we started, okay? And in the office that I was working in professionally with only partners from abroad, we had only one computer connected to the internet through an old modem, meaning that in order for us to download a book, imagine that, just text, it would have taken us one night and half of the next day, working day, before we had it in just one computer. So if we had to download 3, it was likely that we needed 1 week. Okay, just consider that. Of course, internet developed, luckily for all of us, very quickly. And that's why we are talking about open education, because it is in 2001 that MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, decided, okay, we are a very performing university. We have Nobel Prizes working with us as part of our teaching staff. So we are very privileged here. We don't need more money because we can sustain our work and we can provide for the people who are working with us as professors, as teaching staff, or as administrative staff. So what now? What can we do now? The Senate took the responsibility to decide that their next step would have been to share their knowledge for free with the rest of the world. So they digitalized the resources. They invited professors, teachers, researchers to adopt the same approach, and they shared it openly through the internet with anyone. So if you go to the MIT and you search for the OpenCourseWare, which is the OCW, they are actually online and celebrating next year 25 years of great service to the global community. Okay, they also duplicated this OpenCourseWare in other parts of the world where connectivity is sometimes still an issue, and they take care of updating the content on those servers by themselves at their own expenses. Okay. The licenses that we mentioned before, CC licenses, like the one that you see in this image as CC0, were not invented yet. They came after MIT started sharing, okay? Because then the community said, that's wonderful. Why don't we create something that enables the authors and the researchers to share their work transparently through the internet, giving permission explicitly through a license that clearly states what other people can do with these resources without the need to contact the author to ask a specific permission. Okay, so let me be very clear here, and let me look at you. I don't know if anyone opened their camera. Let me be very clear here. If you have an author with a protected resource, like the one that I showed you, Homo sapiens, an artist, and you want to ask them for permission, please, please, please reach out to them and ask for permission to reuse the resources anyway, okay? Why? Because they might not know about the opportunity to license their work openly. So you might want to be the advocate, as I'm doing today here, right? And explain them that there is this opportunity, and they might want to consider it. Otherwise, it is very likely that they will give you permission to reuse their work for a specific contextual educational activity or in a specific context. I have no idea about the kind of request that you might ask them, but it is very likely that you can explain them which is your intention, how you're going to use their work, and they can also be happy to know that someone cares about their work. Okay, so don't limit yourself. But today we are focusing on licenses. And let me give you another example. Is there anyone in this room who is familiar, and please just raise your hand if you are, that is familiar with this card game? Oh, look at that. That's nice. So you know Cards Against Humanity. I'm very happy that you know that. And so please now lower your hands. Next question. Do you know that this game is released with an open license? Who knows that? Raise your hand if you know. Christoph, thank you. Eliska, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Robin, thank you. So someone knows. I'm happy to see that. I see no other hands. Oh, yes, Marianna. Okay. Forgive me with the names, okay? And in case you will correct me. If you want to talk, just open your microphone, okay? So thank you. I'm happy that someone knows. You can see the license here at the bottom of the page. You also find the link to the card game. So this game was invented by students, actually, who wanted to have fun, okay? Just playing with something that is as nasty as you can imagine, okay? So really the opposite of being kind, okay? Somehow, or addressing issues that are sometimes, let's say, how can I say that some people might find annoying or disturbing, okay? It's a game, so I like the fact that people play hard in games. And let's say, sorry, I have to sneeze. 1 minute. Still my bad code recorded in the lesson. Sorry. So I was saying, I love the fact that people prefer to explore their black side, okay, in games, and then they go back to life and they choose to behave in a different way. It's a nice way, and everyone is free during games to behave as they prefer to do. I'm one of those people who tried to buy the let's say the value-driven alternative to Monopoly. I'm sure that you are all familiar with Monopoly, and because I have two daughters, and I thought I have to be the good parent, right? It was one of the worst choices that I made because it's not fun at all to play that game. It's much more fun to play the original one, and then when the game is over, it's over. You are not buying anyone else's house, you are not exploiting others, right? But during the game, you just had fun. So I have nothing against playing with topics that can be somehow annoying for others outside of the game. So what can you do with this game? Okay, the creators of the game immediately decided to create it and share it with an open license, and that's how they declare it. They invite you to steal the game, actually, on the website, okay? Steal the game. Since day one, Cards Against Humanity has been available as a free download on our website, okay? Not only that, you can download the PDFs and printing instructions right here. All you need is a printer, scissors, and a prehensile appendage, okay? Please note, there's no legal way to use these PDFs to make money, so don't ask. What does it mean? They created this version with a CC BY and CSA license, which means CC stands for Creative Commons, the global organization that invented the licenses in 2001. BY stands for attribution, who is the author of this resource. NC stands for non-commercial, meaning that the author is allowing you to reuse this file, but not to make money, okay? It's very clear. And then you have share alike. Share alike invites you, well, let's say, makes it mandatory for you to share any derivative resource from the one that you are downloading with the same license, so that it's a ball that continues rolling, right? Licensed resource after licensed resource. So we are going to see the details of the licenses, okay? Don't worry about that. But are the authors allowed to make money on their own game? Yes, they are. They are selling it. They are selling a art paper version of the game, and it's been a success. And guess what? Through this strategy of sharing the game with an open license, the game became popular everywhere. And then people asked to translate it in local languages. And they the authors have been happy to welcome other language versions on the website, okay, and to give permission to create those language versions. None of these can be sold, sorry, can be sold by reusers because of the NC license, but everyone is welcome to create their local language version and print out the game and use it in their context with friends. So another example of that. Secret Hitler, guess what? Another game where you are invited to play, let's say, controversial role, to be polite, okay? It's a game where the gameplay invites you to discover who has the role of Hitler. Is anyone familiar with this game? Because I discovered from the younger generations. Yes, Christoph. Again, oh, look at that. Okay, that's nice. Okay. And thank you. 9 people plus 5. Wow, this game is even more popular than the other one. Okay, thank you. And now lower your hands. Who knew this game came with an open license? Because again, Secret Hitler is CC BY and CSA. Christoph, Marianna.
I actually know it because I printed it by myself. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonderful. And thank you for telling us so. Look at that. Thank you. So I think you're happy that I mentioned it also. Okay, so you see, this is like a marketing strategy also in a way, right? It's a way for authors, and then we are going to dive into education. But of course, it can work for other formats, other kind of resources, the photos, the artwork, etc., and the games. It's a way to let people know and spread the word around and invite more people to join the game, because if it is for free, it is not only for free in that case, but it is for free as a starter, okay? And it means that people can use it and play it without the need of any other permission or spending other money except for the connectivity, the paper, and the printing machine. Okay, we always have to take into account that even if the cost is incredibly lower compared to other kind of resources, if we think about educational resources, it is key to lower the demand for budget, okay? But there are always expenses to be considered. And most of all, we are not talking about diminishing the amount of work that people have to put into it, okay? To make good open resources, sometimes you have to make an effort. I'm not hiding behind my finger here, okay? But it's a good strategy to not to ask students for more money, which is students of all ages coming from all parts of the world in all levels of emergency or at ease, okay? There are people like me who are privileged enough to decide when to study and to, let's say, deepen my knowledge on a subject because I'm interested, because I can reuse it in my work, because it makes me happy, okay? There are other people and a lot of students around the world, all ages, students of all ages, that are in need to acquire very quickly hard skills and soft skills to get to enter a completely new environment during emergencies of all sorts. So we have to consider that too. And if you are displaced for any sort of reason and you have to find a new place in the new society you are entering, you need skills. And those skills have a cost very often. If you can acquire those skills for free, it's a first step. Okay, so we have to consider that given the world we all live in. Now let's dive into nature. And I know it's half an hour already, more than half an hour already. Okay, so bear with me now. I'm inviting you again to look at the ground, okay? And small living beings. I hope that nobody is scared by insects, because we are not only talking about insects, but we are going about vomiting insects in a moment. So, okay. be advised. Okay, I am no myrmecologist. Who is a myrmecologist? Is a person who studies ants. Okay, I discovered that because I was studying to find good metaphors to convey the message of open education, because I really believe in metaphors since I was a student. Okay, so I find that someone who somehow reaches to the main values and the main features of open education through metaphors that are available everywhere around us, can connect with it more effectively. So that's my attempt and that's my thought behind it. So please tell me if it is effective enough for you, okay, afterwards. As I said, ants. Okay, why ants? Because there's a group of ants, okay, that uses their second stomach in a different way, okay? All insects have, let's say, the stomach divided into three parts, okay? It's called three stomachs, usually. I'm not going to be very technical, okay? The second one, in some ants, is called the social stomach. Why social? Social because when ants eat food, so usually you have a group of ants that go outside of the anthill and look for food and then eat in the outside, and sometimes they bring back some physical food with, as you can see here, using their body to carry it, and helped with by other ants, but they are also very resistant. Sometimes they can carry a weight that is 8 times heavier than their body. Okay, even more than that. So we are now talking not about the physical food that they bring it to the anthill outside of their body. We are talking about the food that they ingest. Okay, they ingest this food. Okay, and then what they do is to store automatically part of the food that they ingest into this second stomach. They keep it there. They don't complete the digestion process on that part of the food. Once they are back in the anthill, okay, after walking back to the anthill, and after adding to this second stomach all the juices, all the information that comes with their immunitary system, all the information that comes through the parallel digestion process, and then goes back to that second stomach as a fluid in order to add information to the food stored there, they go back to the anthill, okay? When they are there, they meet with the ants that didn't have a chance to go out because their duty is to stay in and protect the queen, okay? And take care of the eggs. So what do? They regurgitate. They vomit. Okay, they regurgitate the part of the food that they stored in the second stomach, so that it is available for the ants that stay in the anthill. What happens then? They eat this food, and it's not only eating that food. Okay, imagine a smaller insect or some berry fruits that they find around them, whatever it is that they need. They have that part of the food, but they also have all the additional informations that through the body of the ants that went out has been added to this food stored in the second stomach. Okay, so what happens is that the ants in the anthill are protected from all the external threats to their health, as if they were gone outside themselves, and as if their immunitary system has built barriers to those threats by itself. Okay, and they do it automatically. They don't decide. Okay, that's part of their practice. So what we are saying is that we are talking about shared food, but it's not only shared food. Okay, it is enriched shared food, because we said that they added a lot of information to it, okay? Not only that, it's enriched and healing shared food, because through that immunitary information, if any virus or any bacteria or any other threat already entered the until, through that shared food, they can also immediately fight against that. And this happens by default in nature every day. Where are we in that? We can learn a lot from those ants, right? Most of all in open education, because that's what we intend to do. Maybe the healing part is not there yet, but guess what? There's been a period at the beginning of the war in Ukraine where the open education community started creating and sharing as fast as possible videos, tutorials, text to be sent in their direction through every net available with instructions in Ukrainian, translated from native speakers about first aid. Okay, and it was very helpful because that's we know for sure from direct contact with our librarians all around the countries, because libraries were actually involved in creating in the basement of the universities recovery places with all sorts of first aid tools to support students and teaching staff during the bombing and the air raids. And that's what they are doing also nowadays. Another example, taken from heart, okay, again. And in this case, it is Wisława Szymborska. And I hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly because it's years of practice here. She's one of my favorite poets. She won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1996. And does anyone know Wisława Szymborska in this room? Raise your hand if you do. This is a different field, right? We are not talking about games. We are not talking about insects that are more familiar. Okay, I really invite you to take a look at her poems because she has a very, she was extremely effective in choosing everyday life words to convey very strong messages. Oh, I have someone, Nicola. Nice to know that you know Szymborska. And there's a poem that she wrote that helps me every time I think about it, helps me think about open education, okay? In a previous presentation that I did a while ago, I reached out to the Wisława Szymborska Foundation to ask for the permission to reuse the poem that I am talking about today, which title is No Title Required. And it's very important for me that this is the title of the poem. And they gave me the permission, okay? But the poem doesn't come with an open license. So in that case, I should go back to the foundation every time I want to quote it, every time I want to add it to a presentation that then goes online or is recorded, like in this case. Can I use the poem in my computer on a presentation that I'm only using locally? Yes, I can. Can I share it in any other way without asking for the permission? No, I can't, because Wisława Szymborska died in 2011, and the copyright protection lasts in Poland 70 years after the death of the owner, okay? Because it is meant to support the family in having an income, right? So I'm not against it at all. I mean, it's just a law that needs to be respected as every law available. Am I in favor of some artwork or some poems, in this case, to be shared maybe more widely with the larger community to spread knowledge, to spread the pleasure of reading poems? Oh, yes, I am. It is something that usually people don't consider. Either you go open radically or you don't. There are all sorts of nuances of gray that you can consider, and I'm suggesting you to really consider them all. We all have to deal with the situation we are in, the space we have, the tools that are available at the present time where we are working, and do whatever we can. That's the invitation, to make resources more open. But every level of openness is acceptable, okay? And there are reasons why some licenses fit at best with some contents than others, okay? So I'm not against it. But the photos that I'm sharing here on screen, of course, they are open. And this nice lady is the one who wrote this poem, and I'm quoting to you only the last part of it. But I really invite you to go and read the whole poem because it's available online. Okay, the poem describes a natural environment in close to the river that flows in Cracovia, where she used to work in Krakow. And she describes nature around her, what she sees, very simple things. And at a certain point, there's a butterfly that projects, doesn't touch her hand, but projects the shadow on her hand. Okay, so imagine how sensitive this woman was, and she ends up with this reflection. When I see such things, I'm no longer sure that what's important is more important than what's not. So when we talk about open education, and today I'm introducing the big picture to you, okay, you have whole sorts of people around you, hidden in plain sight, working on open education, being willing to support you as far as they can, and I'm included, so use me, okay, to support your learning experiences and to facilitate them as far as possible through open educational resources. They might be hidden in plain sight, but every action they take, even if it is a very small thing, is very important to enable others reusing resources. And, you know, those people are very, very often hidden in plain sight. You might not see them. But if you explore a little some of the communities that are available for open education practitioners, you see how far they go in helping each other out to progress. And that's part of the important part of open education, okay? It's a big community of practitioners that build on each other. And this image was created by an artist called Agata Lucic, but I'm not sure about how to pronounce this name. I'm sure you're all better than me in pronouncing it correctly. And I'm happy if you want to open your microphone and tell me how to correct my pronunciation, so I know once and for all. But I love this image, okay? Because it really conveys the message of people building on each other and sustaining each other and not being willing to move unless the others have finished doing their job, okay? So I know you have to speed up a bit now, okay? Let me make a very clear statement here. Education is a public good, okay? In the Declaration of Human Rights, education is stated as one of the rights of humanity, okay? And it should be part of the common good then. So to be part of the common good, it should be open because protected content, most of all, if it comes from public money, meaning public universities, public educational institutions, public funding, well, it should go back to the community because it comes from the community, from the money taken by the community through taxes, you know. So it's a no-brainer for me. It should be open, okay? And sharing resources and sharing knowledge, as we said, through digital resources, you are not losing it. So it would just benefit everyone to share those part of the information that we create and the knowledge that we are able to create as a community. And we need to see this happen more as a standard, as a default position in the future. We have policies in place. I'm going to touch base on them. I'm not diving into them because if you want, we can dive deeper into them, but I'm more interested in you knowing about the licenses, okay? And think about the mindset that is required to shift to open. But if we think about the Sustainable Development Goals also, Sustainable Development Goal number 4 states quality education for all. Is there a better way to make quality education available for all than open education? Licensing resources so that anyone can reuse them and adapt them to the needs of different cohorts of students, wherever they are, with their local culture, their local examples, and their local language, okay? So sometimes looking at things, it's not as easy as, while we grow older, we oversimplify by default. So if we go back to the Shoshin approach, okay, try to go there, which is the best way for you to go from A to B. I would love to have someone talk if you want to, okay? So again, you're invited to open your microphone. Is there a better way or the best way possible to go from A to B? Anyone? Okay, let me move forward then. So usually an adult person would say, well, it's a no-brainer, A to B, right? I go directly from point A with a straight line to B. Okay. So what about this then? Okay, it's a completely different way to go from A to B. That's my invitation today. At least when you are thinking about a subject, please take a longer walk to go from A to B. Take your time. Be mindful in allowing yourself to take more time, because I didn't ask you which is the fastest way to go from A to B. And I can assure you, I'm an adult too. So my everyday attitude is that if I have to take a public transportation, I go directly to the closest stop, okay? And I'm patient enough to wait till the next bus, and I start to get anxious when it doesn't arrive in time, okay? So I'm totally part of the conversation here as everyone else. But when it comes to explore new ideas, a Shoshin approach would be much more comfortable in going from A to B using the red line, because, and also a child would do that actually, because I didn't ask which is the fastest or most efficient again. Best according to whom? Okay. Best according to a linear approach or a nonlinear one? Best according to whose needs? Best according to how many information you want to acquire, maybe, right? And if I am in a context and I explore this context a little bit further and taking the time to do it whenever I can, I'm not saying that it's always possible, but whenever I can be more familiar with the context, listen to the stimuli that this context provides, verbal, non-verbal, visual, non-visual, and I can really try to connect with that context in order to click with it, okay? And since the needs of the context change continuously, staying a little bit more there and trying to listen to the real needs at best, and also to perceive a bit what is changing, is key for educational purposes, because we really need to address the needs of the people that we have in front of us and learn from them first in order to serve them better. So we also need somehow to consider unlearning and make space in our minds to relearn through the new cohorts of people that we have, okay? And this cannot come without listening with all our senses and being keen to spend time. So now the definition of open educational resources. You see colors here. Why do you see colors? Because I want you to focus on every bit of this definition coming from UNESCO, okay? Open educational resources, the subject today. They are learning, teaching, and research materials, meaning that also research materials like papers, journals, data sets are included as open educational resources, because through them, people can learn a lot. and they can be part of exercises, they can be part of your projects, okay? In any format and medium, meaning that really you can include anything here, okay? That reside in the public domain, meaning available to anyone because copyright doesn't apply, okay? Or under copyright that have been released under an open license. The license works with copyright. If you are already in public domain, you don't need a license. If there is a copyright, then you need a license to talk about open educational resources, okay? That permission is key, okay? No cost access, first, free. Reuse, more than free. You are allowed to reuse. Repurpose, you can start from a resource, a photo of an artwork, okay? Homo sapiens, and repurpose it, transforming it as a starting point for an educational discussion. Adaptation, resize, translate, transform an image into a video, transform a video into static images according to what you need, print them on paper and redistribute, and redistribution is the next step, by others, meaning not by the author, okay? This is the definition, okay? Everything is in it. And I highlighted with different colors all the pieces that in the future, if you want to go back to this presentation, I really invite you to spend time on. So these are the licenses finally, okay? We have Creative Commons licenses based on 4 icons combined. I already talked about very briefly about it, but still. You have the first one with the symbol of a human being. It's by, meaning attribution. You have the permission to use a resource, but you have to mention the author of the resource when you reuse it. Then you have share alike. You have an arrow that goes in circle, okay? The resource that is a derivative from the original one has to be shared with an identical license, okay? Or a license that is compatible with the original one, okay? And about compatibility, we are going to briefly touch base on that. NC, non-commercial, please consider that this is the dollar, but you can also have the symbol of the yen, the euro, any other coin in the world, okay? The resource cannot be reused for commercial purposes, as we said before, with the Cards Against Humanity and with Secret Hitler. Does the owner have permission to continue selling it? Yes, of course. They are the creators, right? So it's their right to sell their product of their creativity. Are you allowed to resell it? No, you're not. Non-derivative is another symbol that comes with the Creative Commons licenses. And in this case, this is a specific one. You have to be very careful for this equal, because you are not allowed to modify the resource in any way. So you can only use it as it is. Equal stands for as it is, okay? Is this an open educational resource? Well, let's discuss that. So these are the deeds combined into the licenses, okay? That's how you can find them. And the permissions add up or are, let's say, the final license that you see together with the resource is what defines the permissions that you have about that specific resource, okay? There are multiple degrees of openness. I was saying be careful with the non-derivatives. Well, actually, they are not OER. Why not? So if you have a paper and it comes with a CC BY ND or CC BY NC ND license, can you reuse it? Yes, you can have your copy. You can also redistribute it to your students so they can study on it, okay? But educational resources means that they have to be adapted for sure by a teacher who really cares about their cohorts of students, right? Because students change. And the same resource might be perfect for a group of students, but not for the next one. So it needs to be adapted. You have learning outcomes as a teacher in mind, because you want your students to go somewhere, to learn, to reuse change their mindset, to be open to change their mind, to have new knowledge, to restructure this knowledge inside their brains, to reuse it when it comes to mind and when they need it according to different goals. So you need to adapt the resources. That's why ND is not considered an OER, okay? So if you are in an open state of mind, with the open licenses, we are not only allowed to adapt, we are invited to adapt. It's an invitation to an intentional change. You see the difference in perspective here. I'm not suggesting that you have to take these as granted, okay? But I'm suggesting that if you are convinced enough, you embrace this approach of intentionally thinking about the resources as something that can be changed, that can be adapted to other needs, because that's the best way to reuse them. Actually, open educational teachers and practitioners are very happy to know that someone comes back to them and they say, I've changed your presentation, I've changed your lessons because it didn't fit for my purpose, but then I transformed it. Or also, why not? I changed it because I saw a mistake or a link that didn't work anymore, or I found a better resource. Look at it. You might want to reuse it yourself. So we are helping each other through this process as a community. And to point you to people that I'm learning a lot from, you see here Rajiv Jangiani and Laura Snervitz and Katrin Cronin, who are three of the greatest advocates for open that I've been privileged enough to learn from. And I've been also working with them from time to time. You have links in my presentation to their keynote speeches. They are critical minds. So they are not just suggesting that open is the best approach ever, okay? They are also very critical in looking at what works and what doesn't work yet at best, okay? That's the approach of the community. So nobody's selling anything like the perfect solution. The thing is, are we able, through an open approach, to make resources better in time? That's the road then that we want to walk. And those people here adopt the critical approach to openness that I love at best, and that I try to apply to everything that I do and with the groups that I work with, in order to build better resources together. Also because I remember that Katrin and Laura mentioned a commissioner from the United Nations Commission on Human Rights, who said something like, our best future is can still lie ahead of us, okay? But it is up to us and to everyone to get us there, okay? And every challenge that we have in the world can be faced more effectively if we do it together with others. So we have to make better repos. It's not enough to make repos. When we do something, we want to see the consequences, okay? And it's not enough to make repos. We have to make better repos and to contribute all together to that. So that's part of the work that I do in SPARC Europe with connecting with the European Network of Open Education Librarians, meaning that librarians are working together to make resources available for everyone and better, and we are open to change them and to criticize our own resources to make them better. One of the examples of the work that we've been doing is to collect the benefits of open education for different stakeholders and to share them openly through tools that everyone can download for free, CC BY, and change them in order to add their own images, their own background, their own institutional logos. So that's why the design is simple by default, because it is easier for users to adapt something that comes with a very basic design, okay? And that can be adapted in editable formats, because that's what we share, with tools that come open source, so for free, and with low levels technical skills required. Are you extremely good at doing graphic design? You are welcome to transform them into the most beautiful tool that anyone has ever seen, okay? Am I intentionally sharing something that is difficult to adapt? Whenever I can, I avoid it. I prefer to create something that is as simple, as basic as I can by design, enabling others to quickly make it better when they can. Otherwise, everyone can reuse it as is, okay? So that's the different approach. When I work in Politecnico di Milano, we design MOOCs, massive open online courses. We had wonderful, wonderful experience. I have colleagues there that are so great at designing graphic images and doing all sorts of special effects, okay? The last MOOC that we designed together, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute now, is extremely simple. You look at it and you say, oh, these videos are as ugly as you can imagine, okay? But we shared the design, the project of the videos with the larger community. Everyone can download the whole MOOC without having any proprietary software. Everyone can delete me from the lesson and replace me with themselves, okay, for free, CC BY, with the project of the video, so with layers, editing the keywords. And to do that work, it was necessary to think at the simplest format that we can offer, which is the opposite of the beauty that we are usually looking for, okay? If you're interested in having a look at the toolkit that I shared, and I'm going to publish version 6 on Monday, because we have another 10, luckily enough, I hope, if I'm good enough to finish tomorrow, 11 language versions available. Librarians are great at sharing the benefits of open education in multiple languages, including your language, okay? Because we had a librarian who created the Serbian version of it. So yeah, it's and the Czech version of it, and we also have the Slovak version. We are going to have the I mean, hopefully also the Turkish version, and have fun having a look at it if you want to. We are also by default sharing also every workshop that we make, not only the recordings, okay? You can explore our resources everywhere, but also the slides that are used in editable format again, okay? And, oh, sorry, I have the presentation shared in a different format. Let me see if I can. I didn't see that. Yeah, look at that. Let me see if I can. Yeah, make it a little. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Okay. So this is also I was talking about the workshop. Okay, so this is the workshop plan. So not only the recording of the workshop, the slides used during the workshop, and the exercises, the links to the strategic plan that the educators decided to design, so that librarians, wherever they are, if they want to replicate the experience, they not only have the recordings to learn from, but they actually can adapt the workshop plan of the lesson and adapt the practice on top of the resource that is the slide. So that's the approach that we are trying to do, which means including and embracing the margins, okay? Through the tools that we use, and we use tools as tools, we share we focus on editable formats, and we try our best to enable anyone to access and adapt as easily as possible, because that's the purpose. Now, let me dive very quickly into another metaphor, and then I'm going to wrap up. If I think about educational resources and the educational community, another metaphor comes to mind that, again, I'm inviting you again to look at the ground, okay? Fungi in Latin, or fungi in English, or also mushrooms, as you prefer, okay? fungi fascinate me because they are natural transformers. They are well, they transform decay into new life, mainly. They repurpose nutrients, and also in very challenging conditions. Are you familiar with the fact that, for example, so when the Fukushima nuclear incident happened, the first living beings that started recreating life in the space that was strongly affected by the explosion are mushrooms. Okay, not only they started living there, they transformed the chemical components they found, removing the words in English now, well, the dangerous part, I'm sorry, I can't find the word now. The dangerous part of for us, of the nuclear explosion, okay? The radiation, yeah, it was simpler than I expected, okay? So the fungi there were good enough to remove the radiations. So imagine that. So that's exactly what we do as if you think about open education, okay? We take something that might become older and we repurpose it for a different context where otherwise it would simply not work, okay? So not only that, the underground hidden part of mushrooms is the mycelium, which is a very, very thin net of roots. This kind of, it's not roots, it's hyphae actually. The technical term, the Latin term is hyphae. It's like roots anyway. I mean, the simplest way to look at it is like this connected network, okay? That not only work for the fungi, but recent research discovered that they connect the roots of plants. So usually there is a symbiotic relationship that connects fungi with roots, and it's called mycorrhiza. That's how it works, okay? So you see this is a piece of a root full of hyphae, okay? And usually what happens is that plants and trees talk to each other, communicate with each other through chemical components that are brought thanks to hyphae and the mycelium of the fungi that lives together with them, inside them, in the ground around them. So, for example, if you have a tree on top of a hill and the photosynthesis there to produce oxygen works very well because it's in plain sunlight, there's a connection and a connective network on the ground that connects with this tree, with those trees that live at the bottom of the hill, that are closer to water. So the water can go up through the net, separated in chemical components, and go where it is mostly needed on top of the hill, but also the nutrients and the lymph that the tree produces in plain sunlight goes back at the bottom through these mycorrhiza. So it's really fascinating to me to know that underground, there's this network that works so well to favor mutualism, collaboration, and share the resources across species. So think about that. How can it not resonate with me thinking about different communities across the world, living in completely different context? I don't know your context at all. We are talking only because of open education today, but I mean, that's why I continuously ask you to talk or to open your microphone. Because for me to better understand your needs, if I don't connect with your context, well, I can't be very supportive, right? I can talk at a very high level, but then if we want to continue the conversation, I need to get to know you better. I need to understand your context, which is very different from mine, right? So everything that differentiates your context from mine is what could enrich me and help me be more flexible in the service that I'm offering. Because that's what we learn from nature, not because we are anything different from that. Okay, so it is called the Wood Wide Web. You might have heard about this expression lately, but I find it very nice. And the sound of it in relationship to the internet, if you think about it, it's nature again came first. Okay, it was faster than everything else. Another quick image that I want to share with you. I talked about trees being connected with each other, okay? So you have this living being in the United States that has something like 47,000 stems, okay? And the root system that spans something like 0.42 square kilometers. Imagine that. So all these trees are part of the same organism. That's what I'm saying, okay? And they are multiple, they are diverse, but they are also one. So they have an individual and a collective identity at the same time. That's what we are talking about when we talk about education. Otherwise, what are we talking about? If we don't talk about us connecting our pieces of knowledge and helping each other know this world better and navigate our lives in order not to exploit it, this word, but respecting it and respecting each other on it, well, maybe we have to really make a shift in our mind. And I really think that open education connects to that very prominently. I told about policy documents that I'm inviting you to think about it because I just want you to know that there are possibilities for governments to act according to what they agreed and what they signed. Okay, we have as a community, and I'm doing that at every level I can, to continue asking them to take the responsibility for the choices they made, including signing the UNESCO OER recommendation that has 5 action areas that the community is trying at its best to implement. I'm as active as I can in implementing every single action here. I also contributed together with a large community of people to create with these kind of networks that you are invited to explore later, the basic documentation that then UNESCO very forward-looking reused to create the guidelines to implement all these action areas. So a global effort of volunteers provided the draft documents without even asking UNESCO first, okay? Just by experience, by common sense, and by strategic approaches that mixed the needs of different contexts around the world. We created the basis of these guidelines, addressing how can institutions enact on deliver on these different action areas, and how nations can engage to deliver on these action areas. And then UNESCO invited experts to join them to formalize those documents that are now available to anyone for free with an open license. So there is plenty of documents that our nations could rely on, and some European nations are doing a wonderful job. I'm still waiting to be more effective in mine, to be honest, but I'm privileged enough to know people around Europe who are doing a great job thanks to the political decisions of their governments. So we need to ask them to deliver on something that they signed. We also need to merge the pathways because sometimes open education works in a silo, open science works in another silo, and now we have all the tools of generative AI, so-called generative AI, that provide us, let's say, new opportunities together with new challenges. I'm not talking about this today because this would open a whole set of new areas that I'm happy to discuss with whoever is interested. But as the open education community, we are looking at this as an opportunity to fasten at least some of the activities that are at the background, then add the human critical approach that can guarantee the quality of the resources so that we can deliver to more community members just in time when they need something new. Let me skip these resources because it's just for you to know kind of the work that we do, but I want you to reflect on some of the key questions that we continue to ask ourselves in the community. Because I think that it is still interesting to understand is what is important for the community of open practitioners. Is it the knowledge exchange between people? For sure. Is it tangible, measurable results? How often do we have tangible, measurable results? Look, whenever I release a resource that is open, it is out there. Nobody has to reach out to me and tell me I reused it, I didn't. And the number of downloads means nothing to me. It's okay to know that you created something that people downloaded more than 3,000 times. It's somehow nice, but how did they reuse it? Was it useful? Was it easy enough for them to adapt it? And then was it effective? That's the part that it's more interesting for me. Okay, so that would make tangible the result of anything that I do. Numbers actually really don't matter a lot. Enabling adaptation matters a lot because as I shared before, that's key. And then also, how do we define success? The success that I'm talking about is in terms of how many people can we serve, okay? And how qualitative is this service that we are offering? Can we do better? Can we help each other do better? Are we happy to listen to negative feedback to learn from it so that we can release something better next time, okay? Are we able to manage this stressful idea that we have limited resources so that we have to say at a certain point, that's enough because this is what is sustainable now, but we know that moving forward, we can do better. We have to do better. And these are the critical areas where project after project, resource after resource, practice after practice, we have to do better because we can, because the tools are available. We just need to be somehow more effective in exploring through the red line where the opportunity to do better is, okay, for the next resource. And then we have to address the most urgent challenges. Wherever we are, we have different levels of urgent challenges, okay? If I think about our colleagues in Ukraine, for example, I know perfectly because I talk with them what they need now, but also what they cannot do. Are they good at building skills? Yes. Do they have the tools, the physical hardware tools that they need now? Well, maybe we need to wait a little with different formats then, and we have to deliver more on the formats that they can work with. Okay, so this is the kind of mindset that we have to think about. But be sure that marginal communities and marginalized people exist everywhere in every corner. For example, I'm now looking into opportunities to develop a project to move physically on a server digital open resources into prisons because people have time there to upskill, okay? And it can give them hope to have the opportunity to study through available resources that are freely available for them, and they can work on a local copy. I know that I've been talking about the internet all the day, but of course we have to deal with the contextual limitations, right? So why not having a server with local resources would be extremely effective in providing the opportunity. Okay, and then if someone is interested, they can ask for more resources. And then the community can offer more resources, more targeted, more specific. Why not? So again, adopting the Shoshin approach means looking at the world with this, let's say, clean perspective where we don't think that we already know something. We are open to know, to learn and to relearn, change completely what we thought we knew and be open to relearn it in case it's still true. Otherwise, being open to change and change our mind to serve the needs of education better. And again, the invitation is to ask politely as a practice, because if you find a resource that is not open, who knows? The authors might be happy to share it with you anyway and to give you specific permission. But let me tell you one thing on top of this. I told you about Ida Arm at the beginning, Homo sapiens, okay? So I'm meeting with her on Monday because I insisted on spending time with her, if possible, to explain about the licenses. So we are meeting on Monday to start uploading some of the images, the photos of her artwork with an open license on an open repository, because I think that other people might be willing to use them, and it can be a way for her to let her artwork be known. But look at that. It's an opportunity that comes through asking politely. I started just asking because I saw her piece of work and I contacted her through the website, okay? And we are meeting in person. So again, human relationships, polite requests, patience, and people change their mind, okay? And are happy to share more. So I mentioned the different shades of openness in the small step tactics that we adopted in Politecnico di Milano through this Polimi Open Knowledge platform. Actually, I mentioned the second MOOC that is enhancing education through open opportunities, the one that we released with the CC BY license and provided everything online. We had a previous MOOC that is the first MOOC ever that Polimi released with an open license, and I designed it. And look at the difference between these two MOOCs. So in the first one, we had a colleague of ours drawing every guest that we had in the MOOC with a black and white alter ego like a cartoon, okay? And I shared here a link to one of the videos that you can watch later. So it took us ages to record these videos. They are very high quality and I was very proud of it. And I'm proud also nowadays. Were we enabling anyone to reuse? Well, no, because this was really difficult to adapt in any way, okay? So it was a wonderful experience. We've been privileged to have great minds sharing their knowledge, fine. The new resource appears like this. Look at me with longer hair and my sheep was wild that day. So this is the format that we adopted now, okay? But everything here is adaptable by anyone with no video editing skills, I can assure you, okay? I tested it myself. It was created together with our video editors. We've been discussing and facing challenges all the time, but it was me changing it for the first time to test it, okay? So this is the invitation. Oh yeah, I know. The time is over, right?
No, not yet. Just want to tell you that we have 10 minutes.
Okay, so, thank you.
Yeah. So we still have some minutes for finishing what you want to say, sorry. And maybe some few minutes for if there will be any questions. So
sure. I can also skip some of the next slides because I think that the message is clear, right? So this is the invitation, actually, really maximizing access to knowledge by not removing the barriers, because this is not sustainable. I mean, the first MOOC that we released was CC BY and CSA, okay? And it was 2016. It took me till 2024 to ask for the permission internally, and I had a yes, which I'm very grateful for, okay? To even ask for the permission to design a radically open MOOC, okay? So you have to be patient, and some of the barriers will still be there. It's a MOOC, it's not open in all the ways that other resources can be, but still we minimized the barriers there. And everyone, you included, can download the whole MOOC materials from Zenodo without logging in, without doing anything. And you are welcome to remove me from the videos and add yourself and advocate for open yourself. So the the last input that I would take from literature and give you actually comes from a researcher in Norway. Her name is Rikke Norgard, and she theorized hope-punk futures for higher education. What is a hope-punk theory? It's looking at the future not only in terms of what is possible, okay, which is fine. And then you can look at dystopic futures or utopic futures, but the lens is for preferable futures, okay? And to work for preferable futures, we cannot be the only one looking at the world, okay? We have to think about the future together with the world, okay? And with us in the world, but also to futures that the world could somehow shape by itself, okay? That's why I wanted you to think about ants and their social stomach, think about humus, and think about fungi, okay? Because we can learn a lot, and we have to think that there are lots of things that we take for granted or that we don't even look at that can teach us a lot also today. But we have this privilege to have a brain that supports us as dreamers, as designers, as people who can project, okay, through projects, but we can project. And we have to do this intentionally for preferable futures, for the good of everyone, us included. Preferable means that we have to be intentionally looking for the best part of the possible futures, okay? Because they are preferable, because they are better for the majority of people. And we have to work through imagination. So again, another piece of art. This comes from Agata Morka, who is a Polish communication expert, but she's also an artist, as you can see. And while she was waiting for her first child, during the night she couldn't sleep, and she created this whole book to talk with him. The imaginary name was Pepe, providing a keyword for each word of the alphabet. And I chose imagination from there. If there's one muscle that needs a serious workout, it is the muscle of imagination. Train it every day. Look at a spoon and think about how her day might be going. Does she get all made up for breakfast? Does she like to swim in milky coffee? Maybe she would like some extra foam. Train your imagination every day with discipline and joy. Sweat it out is the invitation to Pepe. And I forward this invitation to every one of you. Sweat it out with imagination. We need it. Okay. And add to what is possible, what is preferable. And treat your contextual work day when you're studying or working as your garden, okay? You can plant seeds in your garden, but then also the garden has a role in, shaping the ways those seeds can turn. And okay, there's part of it that is in your control, but you have to be attentive to listen to everything else that can influence the result, and work with it, with your imagination, and being open to accept what happens and minimize the barriers. Okay, so yeah, let me just finish here. Okay, it's just an invitation to, oh yes, this is the last one. It's an expression from Zen Buddhism. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So again, the invitation is to be really grounded, ready to do the hard work. And whenever you discover something that fascinates you and makes you enthusiastic, take the energy and then go back to the hard work, okay? Because we need you to continue doing that. And thank you through this wonderful image shared openly by an artist. The more we share, the more we have.